Tesla just changed the rules on everyday charging. New nickel-based cells now let you set 90% as your daily limit, cutting long-term fade and keeping the performance punch without babying the pack. No gimmicks, just a real upgrade you'll feel on weekday mornings and long weekends alike. Here's what changed inside the cathode and why your next charging routine just got simpler. The reveal that slipped past the noise. The message arrived without a keynote or a countdown. Instead, Tesla's vice president of vehicle engineering said during a segment on a mainstream car show that the company's next-generation nickel-based battery technology is durable enough that Tesla now plans to recommend a daily charge limit of 90% for vehicles equipped with these cells. This immediately reframes ownership habits in markets where nickel chemistries dominate, effectively giving drivers more usable energy every day without changing pack size, hardware footprint, or the rhythm of their lives. And it matters that this was not rumor, but words from the executive responsible for the vehicles themselves. This guidance is especially relevant in the United States, where most Teslas ship with nickel chemistries rather than lithium iron phosphate. A higher everyday limit translates into an immediate increase in practical range for commuting, spontaneous errands, and late afternoon plan changes that use to force a stop. While the difference between 80 and 90% sounds modest on paper, in real life that extra 10% often determines whether you head straight home or take the scenic route without thinking twice. So if tomorrow morning your app slider quietly moves from the old habit to the new recommendation, how quickly would your routine adapt to the extra cushion you didn't even know you were missing? Why 90% changes the conversation. For years, nickel-based packs were treated like athletes who needed a careful training plan. They offered the energy density and power that made long-range and performance trims feel effortless, yet they asked owners to be more conservative in daily charging to limit aging. Meanwhile, lithium iron phosphate earned a reputation for cost, stability, and tolerance of full state of charge, but at the expense of packing fewer watt-hours into the same volume. Buyers often had to choose between simplicity and stamina, and service advisors repeated guidance that became folklore in owner forum. When the company responsible for so many nickel-based cars says the next iteration can comfortably live at 90% day after day, that convenience gap narrows in a way owners can feel on a weekday morning rather than in a spec sheet. You don't need to schedule a road trip to benefit, and you don't need to relearn your car. You simply start the day with more energy available and less anxiety about long-term pack health. That's exactly the kind of incremental advantage that compounds over years and miles. If the sprinter suddenly behaves like a marathoner in daily life while keeping its top speed, does the old either-or choice still make sense? The chemistry hidden inside the headline. The quiet hero behind this shift is the cathode. Tesla filed and publicized work on doped cathode active materials and the methods to make them. Doping, in this context, means intentionally introducing tiny amounts of other elements into the crystal structure, so the material resists the mechanisms that normally erode capacity over thousands of cycles. This isn't marketing flourish, but classic materials engineering that strengthens the most fragile links in the chain, so voltage, temperature, and repeated intercalation don't carve away performance as quickly as before. Summaries of Tesla's technical documents describe meaningful improvements in retention. Older cathodes hold a smaller share of initial capacity under long-life conditions, while doped versions hold substantially more. Commentary on the same approach notes that a particular multi-element recipe kept degradation surprisingly low over the same period in which a non-doped reference cell lost far more capacity. That's exactly the sort of result that justifies changing daily state of charge guidance from 80 to 90% without treating owners as unpaid beta testers. If the lattice itself keeps its shape deeper into life, how long before your battery outlasts the rest of the car's moving parts? From studio conversation to owner habits, it matters that this update did not arrive as a rumor or third-hand leak. The message was delivered plainly and then echoed by communities that follow engineering closely. The emphasis remained the same. The new nickel-based chemistry is durable enough to support 90% on a daily basis, and the convenience gap with lithium iron phosphate is now half what it used to be. For drivers, the difference shows up in small mercies that add up. Commuters can skip a midweek top-up. Fleets can shave a stop from a shift, and families can accept an unexpected detour without the mental math that used to accompany any day that drifted beyond routine. The beauty of this kind of improvement is that it hides in plain sight. No one needs a new charging ritual or a deep dive into battery science to enjoy it. If convenience is the currency that wins mainstream adopters, is this the quiet change that moves the needle more than a new badge ever could? Nickel and LFP. After the upgrade, none of this means lithium iron phosphate loses its place. LFP still wins on cost, stability, and stress-free full charge tolerance. It remains a natural fit for standard range trims and many fleet applications. Yet the historical complaint that nickel packs felt fussy in everyday use loses force if owner guidance climbs to 90% while the pack retains more of its capacity deeper into life. That means buyers can select a chemistry based on energy density, packaging, and performance needs without feeling pressured by maintenance anxiety or different rules for the same school run. That balance is exactly what long-term adoption requires. Mainstream drivers don't want to memorize battery etiquette. They want a car that behaves consistently. If nickel now carries the legs of a grand tourer and the manners of a daily commuter, showroom conversations change from warnings about upper limits to simple discussions about how far you travel and how you like your power delivered. That kind of clarity makes choices easier, not harder. When both chemistries feel simple and one gives you more miles per kilogram, which knob do you turn first? Cost, weight, or headroom? What the patent hints about direction. The doped cathode work sits alongside a broader thread of innovations focused on strengthening active materials and simplifying high-volume manufacturing. Tesla has pursued recipes and processes that reduce capacity, fade in manganese-rich and nickel-rich systems, pairing that chemistry focus with production approaches that cut solvents, speed up lines, and lower costs. While those factory innovations are their own story, they support the same end goal, making it viable to bring better materials to scale rather than leaving them on a lab bench. This is why the 90% guidance matters beyond owner convenience. Pack longevity determines second life economics for stationary storage, shapes warranty calculus, and helps fleets calculate residual values with more confidence. As the curve flattens on capacity loss, the window for repurposing packs widens. The same hardware can serve your road miles, then spend a quieter retirement stabilizing a home or a microgrid before finally heading to a recycler. The same school run. That balance is exactly what long-term adoption requires. Mainstream drivers don't want to memorize battery etiquette. They want a car that behaves consistently. If nickel now carries the legs of a grand tourer and the manners of a daily commuter, showroom conversations change from warnings about upper limits to simple discussions about how far you travel and how you like your power delivered. That kind of clarity makes choices easier, not harder. When both chemistries feel simple